Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, we do have a long weekend. We have Monday with the market being closed for Memorial Day. I hope everybody's having a lovely Memorial Day. But we do have an extra day to this weekend, which means we have a short trading week coming up. We're going to go over in this video. We're going to go over SPY, QQ, VIX. We're going to go over how the indices are looking next week, the levels we're paying attention to. We're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks, and then we can go take a look at some trade ideas going into next week. I have, we're talking 15 to 20 stocks for you guys to be taking a look at that, I think are just about ready to start reversing for us. They have the setups there. So we're going to go over those in the second half of the video, but let's run through it. All right, guys, on the upside over here on SPY, guys, we're going to be watching 581.81, 586.62, and then if we do get it, if we clear this level right over here, we're going to mark it as a blue level right over there, 586.62. If we get over there, we're probably going to start heading back up the highs, 595.54, then we watch 598.51, 602.48. All right, on the downside, if we take out Friday's low at 575.60, then we're going to be watching the weekly gap that still remains open at 570.31. And then if we do not hold there, we're watching 561.70. Now, guys, ideally, we do end up seeing this low hold. We pivot off of this candlestick. We break above 581.81, and then we start heading up to 586.62. And, that's when we're in the upper, part of this little area over here, and we're probably just going to see this act as a magnet up here at 595.54. Coming into this area, guys, on this pullback, which just remember, everyone, guys, we knew it was going to be a trap up here. We knew we had the 4-hour bullish divergences or bearish divergences going on up here, and we knew as of right here, okay, we pointed out on this day right here, if we do pop up into new high, which we were looking for a new high, we were looking for it to get sold. Or actually, no, it was right over here on QQQ. QQ did end up making the new high over there. And then as we saw, it was a trap, and you ended up, starting your pullback. We're either going to be looking for QQQ's 200 DMA to hold, or we were looking for SPY's 200 DMA to hold. One of those was going to bring buyers back into the mix. And as of right now, it's looking like SPY's 200 DMA is probably going to hold, because if you don't hold right here, guys, we're back underneath the 21 EMA. Your uptrend is just not going to look as clean, but it'd be very nice to pivot off of Friday's candlestick here. We did print a inverted hammer style candlestick here, which I'm just going to say, combine that with the a key support level, the 4-hour RSI, just about getting into oversold territory, and yeah, I think this is a solid shot. We are going to be pivoting off of it. Okay. So that's my bias going into the week. But as we could see, if we do pull back, we're just going to look for buyers right down here. You can have the weekly 21 right around that 570.31 gap. And then right over here is the 200 that, we already know was bringing buyers into the mix. Now coming over here to QQQ, we could see, if SPY's does not hold there, we're just going to come a little lower on QQQ, and we're very likely going to hold this 493.46 level right over here. Okay. So, I think the ball is in the Bulls' court at this point in time. They would not have closed you out with a bullish candlestick, a green candlestick on that gap down. If they wanted bears to continue taking the wheel, we probably would have taken out the low intraday and then continued with a red bar on the day. We did not do that. All right, we did not do that. We gapped down. We got bought up. A lot of times, hey, that leads to that candle just creating a pivot point and then you pushing up off of it. So over here on QQQ, guys, above 511.84, Friday's high, above 511.84, we're watching for the test of 517.71. Above there, guys, we're coming straight for 521.95, which is where price has been rejecting here. That's 3 rejections while we're up there. We know that's where sellers were. We knew we needed to bring new buyers into the mix, and we had buyer exhaustion going on here, and the only way to bring new buyers into the mix was going to be give everybody a pullback here. There are going to be people coming back in that were missing that over there, and that is what is happening so far. But let's see if we get the follow through off of Friday's buy early on this week. Okay, we do have Nvidia earnings Wednesday after the bell, so that's going to be a big catalyst this week. And then we also have PCE coming in on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is going to be something at the end of the week for us to look at. But as far as the levels go, above 511.84, we have 517.71, 521.95, 527.92, and then 532.10. On the downside, we're watching Friday's low, 505.58 underneath there. Make sure that's the right level. Yeah, 505.58 underneath there. We have 501.48. And then the very big level down there at 493.46, that's going to be where that 200 EMA is, as well as the weekly 21 EMA. It's going to be sitting right here. Very likely that it will hold. All right, so that's what we're watching over there on SPY and QQ. Let's just review these weekly candles, guys. We still very clearly have this big old gap here. If we come into it, it's very likely going to just bring buyers back into the mix. So no matter what, guys, we're looking for buyers down here. We're looking for the pullback no matter what from slightly higher prices. You know, we got ever so slight higher price here on Friday or on Thursday before they just, you know, hit it with that. And I'm just going to say, guys, yeah, I think the pullback is it's probably completely over. Let's just come over and see what happened over here on VIX. Okay, so you know we had the 4-hour bullish divergence over here. We were saying if we took out that low, it's just going to create that bullish divergence. We didn't quite make another low over here like we were looking for to create a triple bullish divergence going on over there, but we did end up seeing VIX start spiking over here. Now, we rejected the daily 21 EMA here 2 days in a row. We have a massive upper wick over here on the daily candle. I'm just going to say we're not out the woods completely yet, all right, which is why we gave the levels over there on SPY and QQ. I personally do think we're going to pivot off of Friday's candles, but that is why, you know, I gave you guys the bearish levels, the downside levels to be paying attention to, and we really just got to watch Friday's lows on SPY and QQ. But I'm going to go over in this video why, you know, I do think we're probably going to be getting bought up from here. And yeah, I'm going to give my thesis on that and go over the Mag 7 stocks, go over the semiconductors. And then, yeah, I'll show you. We got a lot of bullish setups going into next week, okay? But yeah, over here on VIX, guys, you close right here on the 21. If we do end up, the new level to watch over here is going to be Friday. Well, we're going to actually make it Thursday's low, okay? If we do end up seeing this alert get hit down here at 1964, if we do get back down there, that is when I think that we have a VIX crush back in our hands. We're probably going to take out this low. All right, so that is VIX. Now we're going to start reviewing these Mag 7 stocks, starting with Tesla. All right, guys, so Tesla's one that I am just going to say it's very clearly bullish consolidation going on. You had this base going on over here. Guess what? It was a $75 base. Let's take from the breakout level right over there up to the high right now, 64 schmeckles, $64 right in there. And guess what? That's not 75 bucks, guys. That tells us we are, you know, we were already going to be going higher. Okay, you know, it's not guaranteed, but the measured move, okay, this is a 2-month range of $75, and we've been out of that range for, yeah, since May 9th over here. And yeah, that's only like 2 weeks, guys. Okay, so that's only been 2 weeks breakout versus the 8 weeks of consolidation, and it didn't even match the size of that range. All right, which tells us we very likely are going to be continuing higher, and then pair that with what we got cooking over here on the daily time frame, guys. You have this bull flag. We just pulled into the short-term moving averages into our cloud over here. All right, and we're consolidating above 326.59, our key level there. Even if price is to pull back, guys, if you lose this, like that's why I say QQ, let's lose SPY's 200 DMA. You're just going to go a little bit lower there and find buyers at QQ's 200 DMA, and then the 4-hour RSIs are actually going to be oversold like we were, you know, looking for there. And yeah, at that point, you're probably going to get this move no matter what. I'm also just going to say July 440C, there is a big buyer in the water over there, and he has been loading the boat. I think it's very likely that Tesla will be rallying up. We're talking, you know, 440, 400 to 440, probably over the next month. I think we're probably about to start seeing this thing move out of this range here. All right, and the tell for that is going to be a break above 354.99. So above there, guys, we're watching 373.04, 384, and then 401.34, and then 420. Okay, on the downside, guys, you're watching 326.59, but even if you lose that level, guys, you're very likely just going to find buyers over here, and then you resume this move. Okay, but as far as how, you know, the weekly time frame looks over here, guys, I think we're just building out. Maybe we get another week of range. We don't even know. So, you know, if you're long in this thing with me, I think it's best to honestly just use the July expiration at a minimum. Use the June expiration. I don't think it's worth trading the short-term calls until we actually see the breakout. At that point, you know, every day on these pullbacks, yeah, you have the chance of getting on the short-term calls, you know, your nice 100 to 300% gains. Why? Because Tesla is going to be trending, and it's going to not be doing this crap. It's going to be in one of these modes, one of these modes, one of these modes where you actually get the impulsive moves. All we need to do is break up above 350.499. All right, so that's Tesla. It's looking bullish into next week. Nvidia, is that a similar look? Yeah, yes, it is. All right, pulling back in this bull flag-like manner over the 200. We have earnings on Wednesday. Realize I turn off my volume for this video. We'll come over here, back on the volume, and I'm just gonna say, guys. All right, I don't know which way you go over here, but I'll tell you right now. There are, a lot of companies just saying that they're going to be using these Blackwell chips, guys. They're going to be buying a bunch of them because they need to support their own AI infrastructure. Okay, you have like Tesla, like the XAI, I think the company is called. He's another company. That's where they're going to be building. That's their AI. All right, and they're going to be building, or they're purchasing and going to be using 1 million Blackwell units. I'm just saying there's going to be a bunch of other companies that are going to probably do that because it's an AI war right now. It's an AI, this is the AI race. All right. So this guy over here is going to be supplying it. I imagine since that's a catalyst, well, that's news that, just came out. Like a lot of people are just talking about it. Or a lot of these big companies, they keep mentioning it. It hasn't been doing anything for the stock price in the short term. But I'll tell you, they're probably going to talk about it. So, that's something to, keep in mind there. But even if you do end up pulling back here, I imagine any dip into this area is probably going to get bought. So if you get a gap down off earnings over here, that's a trade idea that we are going to look for into the second half of the week. Other than that, I don't think it's wise just to long into it. But yeah, I mean, look at the weekly chart over here, guys. You had this straight move down, boom, 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 boom. And then you're finally taking out this last weekly high. If you get over here, 143.44, then this thing's probably going straight to 153.13. That's Nvidia. Coming over here to Apple, guys. How are we looking? All right. We talked about the importance of 198.24. We actually talked about the importance of this level right over here. It was 204.26. We lost that. Why was that important? Because that lets us come all the way back down here. And that was actually a weekly low here. And now it kind of looks very ugly here on the weekly time frame. I don't think all hope is lost here, but if you do end up having a really big sell here, you're probably going to put in a bullish divergence here on the weekly RSI, or just see this thing actually get oversold. And I am just going to go back and show you that is something that is very short-lived throughout time over here in Apple. This is the 1980s. You know, 1993 over here, you stayed down there. Over here at 08, you stayed down there for a few weeks. Over here in 2018, you stayed down there for a few weeks, but in reality, that's where you make your long-term purchases. That's where you are, putting on your investor hat. You're going to be a buyer. Okay, this company's not going anywhere. I promise. The reason, one of the main reasons the market was selling off is because Apple had a 25% tariff imposed on them because they're not making it in the U.S. And then they announced, to make it in the U.S., it's going to be a $3,500 iPhone. You good with that? No, the U.S. consumer is not good with that. No consumer is freaking good with that. Okay, so I'm just saying, it's a buy over here if you start coming down to these lower levels again. But I don't know if that's actually going to be the case. The 4-hour RSI is already deeply oversold. As we see, this another spot where once you get down there, yeah, you could stay down there for a little while, like over here, you could dance around. But that is where, you're going to build something out, and then eventually you are going to be bouncing back from that. Sometimes it's short-lived, sometimes it's not. We don't really know until it happens. I would say as far as trading goes, don't be trying to long this thing. Okay, I don't think there's any reason to long this thing. I'm going to be completely honest. That's why I said put on your investor hat. That's like the only thing I'm interested down here. Okay, if you come down here, that's good. But honestly, this thing looks like crap to me. But I don't think all hope is lost for the bulls. If you can get back above 198.23, watch for the retest of 206.75. Get above there. Maybe you do push 214.56, and this was all a bear trap. All right, but on the downside, underneath 193.25, you have 189.81 and then 183. Moving on over here to GOOG. All right, GOOG, guys, did reject the upper trend line of that bear flag. Now coming into the key level, it's going to be 168.24. You're back underneath the 200 DMA. I'm just going to say this is rejection here. We want to reclaim 172.91 as soon as possible, but really the level to watch for the bulls is going to be 168.24. That is where you just broke out from. You got two closes underneath the 200 after testing it. That is rejection if I ever, have seen it. You also rejected the upper trend line of that bear flag. That's just, I drew that out. That is the equivalent trend line right there. All right. And yeah, you rejected it. So watch over here. If you start losing 168.24, I personally wouldn't be long in this thing. There's no reason to. Okay. Don't look for short-term bulls. Just don't. If you hold here and then get back above 172.91, back above the 200, then yeah, by the time you test this again, 176.90, it's likely to break. All right, so if you see this, the second you get back up here and get over it, you're probably going to test right here, and you're probably not going to reject it again. You're probably coming straight to 183.34. So that's what I'm watching over here on GOOG. Microsoft, how we looking? How we cooking? All right. On the downside, you have 448.38, 443.67, 439.44. All right. You want to be holding 439.44. That's going to be where that 21 EMA is. And if you lose there, you risk coming back down to the 200, which I just don't think is going to be the case. You did put in a bearish reversal candlestick, a little, bearish harami candlestick kind of pattern. I'm just going to say sometimes, price extends over these. Sometimes it marks your peaks and then you consolidate for a little while. Okay. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but you could see you had a similar candlestick over here. You consolidated. I'm just going to say weekly structures. It's very bullish here. Pullbacks. You're just looking for buyers to step in for a higher low. Probably, if I had to guess, this area right here. Okay, right over here, which is going to be 440 all the way down to 430. So 430 to 440, look for buyers to defend there. Worst case scenario, you come to the 200. That's Microsoft. I wouldn't be long in it, okay, but it's something to pay attention to. Meta, all right, pulling back over here, sitting above the 200 in this, little 4-hour bull flag here. We can see on the daily time frame, sellers really don't want to take the wheel. We could tell sellers are sitting here. Okay, they got you under a key level. They rejected for, a whole week straight. They tried pushing you down. You swept the low of the range, and you closed back within the range. Honestly, if I had to guess, this thing is going to be breaking up, but confirmation really going to be a break above 641.86. If you could break above 641.86, I think you have a clean shot. Push it quickly to 662.67, then above there, we're talking 670 to 680. Probably comes within 1 to 2 trade session. Okay. On the downside, you're just going to be watching 611.30. If 611.30 does not hold, you're watching the 200 DMA, which is very likely to hold, which is going to be around 592.66 support. Coming over here to the last Mag 7 stock, we're talking Amazon, guys. All right. So Amazon is also something that, has this very clear bull flag kind of look to it as it pulls into, the exact spot we've been paying attention to. Why have we been paying attention to it, guys? Because it is right here at the 200 DMA. It's right here where you broke out from. It's right here at the 21 EMA. This is where the confluence is. And if buyers are going to really step in here, it's probably going to be here. All right. If they don't step in, all right, and this thing really, starts getting underneath here, we'll just mark it out, or not mark it out. It's going to be 198.34. We already have it marked out. If you come back down here and you don't hold it, then you're watching 194.69 and then 188.65. But, at that point, I'm going to argue this is a real sloppy chart. You don't want to do that. This is extremely clean. You found buyers 3 days in a row here around the 200 DMA, 2 days in a row off the 200. Then you gap down to our key 198.34 level that we, told you to be watching. That's right at the 21 EMA. And you found buyers right off of that. And then you close the day above the 200. That's strength. That's the opposite of what I showed you on GOOG over there. That's, the opposite of rejecting the 200. That is accepting the 200. All right. So, if we could take out Friday's high at 202.37, then I think we have a solid shot of pushing straight up to 206.21, 208.85, and then 211.93. And the target for this run is going to be 216.20. But I do think you go a little bit higher than that if you start getting to these upper levels. Okay. As far as the weekly chart goes, you can see big gap up. And then in this slow and controlled manner in a bull flag for 2 weeks now, you've been pulling back here right into the perfect spot. I think we're getting ready for a big move. That's Amazon. I could be wrong. And what's the invalidation on that, guys? Lose 198.34. That's it. All right. Simple as that. Is what it is. Okay. So let's just quickly take a look at semiconductors, guys. Still holding above the 200 over here. It's the same thing. Slow and controlled, coming down after this big impulsive move back up. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be bought. I could be wrong, but it's probably going to be bought. You'd see TSM doesn't look all that bad. You're still just in this range over here, and this can easily act as a bull flag if you break above 197.46, and then you have pretty much nothing until 212.60. It was a leader, and it's probably going back to being a leader. AVGO over here, I think this is probably going to be the first chip to reach all-time highs. It also has earnings coming up, but it is something that is probably going to be moving off of Nvidia earnings, so keep that one in mind. You could see my paths right over here. Either we're going to find buyers over here if we lose this range here, which I'm just going to mark out under 221.60. Okay, you're just going to be watching for follow the yellow brick road down to 211.11. If that does not hold, then we're coming down to the 200, and we're very likely to hold that. And then you have a massive, stay with me, inverse head and shoulders pattern. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. You have a left shoulder, you have a head, you have a right shoulder. Like, it would be beautiful. And then we would play it up to all-time highs. But does it look all that bad to me? No. Does it look all that bad to you? I hope not. This doesn't look terrible to me. And aside from that, guys, we're going to jump right into the trade ideas. But, this is kind of where I'm drawing the thesis from. We have Tesla looking bullish. We have Amazon looking bullish. Apple, there's still a chance there. Nvidia earnings this week, and it still doesn't look all that bad. All right. Meta also doesn't look bad. Microsoft, it probably is just going to consolidate, or we're expecting buyers on that pullback over there. GOOG, it still has a shot to, make its way back up. And if we see it get back above 170, 291, then I assume it's probably going to push here and then push 183.34. So that's another thing that's suggesting, we could get the buyers going over here. This weekly chart, I know it's a giant bear flag, guys, but I'm going to be honest. It makes me think this thing is probably going to start, getting bit up there. I know we have the large upper wick, but we do have massive volume on the week here, the heaviest we've had in a while since the low over here. Yeah, I think it's going to continue being bought up. And I could be wrong, but, again, I just know Tesla is very likely going to be breaking up. And even if it pulls back a little bit, it's likely to be shortly lived. This thing is probably not going to rip faces off without the overall market just supporting it. So, yeah, I'm going to be honest. Everything I'm looking at kind of suggesting to us, either we're going to get a little bit more of a pullback to the 200 DMA over there on QQQ, or the worst is in over here. We tested S&P 500's 200 DMA, and that's all she wrote. And now we go back up. And that's really, that's as simple as it has. That's as complicated as it has to be. You don't got to complicate things. Keep things very simple. And that's really where I'm drawing the thesis from. Okay. But, at the end of the day, by daily chart, we know this was a dip that was very likely going to be bought. And then you got over here on the weekly time frame. All right. I know red bar after, you had 3-4 straight, nice green bars over there. But look at the, place you're pulling back into. It's really not all that bad. And on the daily chart, this thing doesn't look bad at all. If you fall a little bit further, 4-hour RSI is just going to get oversold. We're not in a downtrend, so we're looking for a higher low. Probably not going to take out 555. All right. So, that's SPY and the Mag 7 stocks and the semiconductors over there. SPY QQ, semiconductors, Mag 7 stocks. Let's jump into my trade ideas. But before we do that, Mags. All right. This is the Mag 7 ETF. And again, you get this, very controlled consolidation, this controlled pullback as, after we had this big, big impulsive move up. I know you had the big impulsive move down, but now you've gotten above these key spots. You've reclaimed the 200 DMA over here. And yeah, you're going to expect, demand over here as you come back into it. Okay. So really just everything's looking pretty good unless we do have, the big bad tariff man coming out to play next week. But honestly, I don't know if that's going to be the case with how things are looking. Okay. So as of my trade ideas, we're talking pros. Number one is going to be pros. Guys, I gave you PLTR. Guys, I gave you hood because it was PLTR 2.0. Guys, I'm giving you bros before it actually gets all the way up here because this is PLTR 3.0. This is hood 2.0 and PLTR 3.0. All right, let's run through it right here. PLTR, this was the first one I gave you. I put it on your radar over here, and then I started hammering it over here. And then over here, I also, I think somewhere over here I was hammering the table on it. But really the setup over here, I remember hammering the table on it over here, and then I saw this thing take off on me over here. Note this candle right here, okay? So this is the one we're paying attention to right there, okay? Well, bing, 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 bing. There you go. This was hood. This was PLTR 2.0. I hammered the freaking table. I pounded the table over here this week and this week on hood. Why? Because it was getting ready to do a PLTR 2.0. And it did. It ended up flying. Well, guys, now I'm telling you, this is set up the exact same way. All right. Just like we'll just, run through it. Okay. These are the same exact charts I'm about to show you. PLTR. Look where that arrow is. Okay. Hood. Look at where that arrow is. Okay. Pros. Look at where that arrow is, guys. Like straight up. I think we might start the week off with a gap down here. Hit it with the bullish engulfing candlestick because that is exactly what we did. PLTR. We gapped down the next week. Actually took out that low. And then you had the bullish engulfing candlestick. Hood, what do we have? A gap down. You took out the low. You had the bullish engulfing candlestick. Pros over here. Let's hit it with the gap down. Take out 65.14. Give us a nice entry over there. Sweep those lows. pull back into a key spot, okay, you know, right over here. But honestly, I'm going to argue it's going to look better if you just pop above 68.47 next week. But if it's going to be a PLTR hood 2.0 over there, well, 3.0, then yeah, you're going to get the gap down. Maybe you sweep this 65.14 level over there, maybe the low of last week, and then you hit it with this bullish engulfing candlestick. And then on the next one, you're also going to be flying on that. So I'm going to keep this on my radar, and this is a swing that I just, you know, took a starter position on this week, and I'm going to add according to plan off of what we just, you know, what we just talked about. But, you know, you can also see here on the daily time frame, all right, this looks, you know, pretty beautiful over here. You have a left shoulder, you have a head, you have this being the right shoulder, okay, and this is going to be your neckline right here, this guy right here, okay, and this is just going to be the right shoulder. So the second we pop back above 72.72, yeah, this is likely to start moving and grooving. Second one we're talking about is Peloton. I think Peloton is getting ready for a really big move, guys. All right, so this is inverse head and shoulders over here. You got the weekly close back above the 200 DMA. This is the first weekly close since you lost the 21 EMA over here, above the 21 EMA. So this is the first, you know, reclaim week we've had over here. But notice the candlestick, increasing volume, bullish engulfing candlestick. We engulfed the last 3 candlesticks in this one candlestick. This thing is getting ready for a move. It's doing it right now. You got, you know, heavy volume here coming in. Well, not the heaviest, but, you know, increasing volume coming in on, you know, the breakout over there. You got the daily and weekly close above 724, inverse head and shoulders neckline there. This thing is likely heading to 850, 982, 1090, and maybe even 12 bucks. But yeah, I'm really freaking liking the monthly look over here. I'm really liking the daily and the weekly time frame over here. They're looking immaculate, but especially, you know, you could see the monthly and the weekly chart there. This thing's ready to freaking move. Oklo, I pounded the table on it. I know it gapped up over the, you know, well, I didn't pound the table on it, but I put it on your radar right before it gapped up. It just gapped up in after I was over here. I had no idea they were signing a bill over here that was going to be helping this guy out. I had no idea. What was I interested in? Technical setup. Okay, the weekly chart, it looked very similar to what was going on over here, and I was assuming pullbacks would be bought if we got it this week. So I told you guys to watch it coming into this week. It was an idea I gave you guys. All right, it didn't get much of a pullback, not as much as I would have liked, but it consolidated over here. And yeah, as we could see, this was the heaviest volume day it has ever had. It is likely going to push through all-time highs. I'm not saying it happens immediately, but I'll tell you right now for a fact, if you see a pullback on this thing, it is a buying opportunity. I will be taking advantage of it because we are targeting 59.14, and I am just going to show you the monthly time frame over here. All right, notice how on this candle right here, right over here, you had this upper wick, this red candle upper wick right here. On this monthly candle, when you started pushing up into it, you got decently above it, and then you closed above it. Well, we have a similar candle right over here. You have this big red upper wick, okay? Well, actually, hang on. Let's take it one at a time, okay? So you had this red candle right over here. We'll just mark it like that. We'll mark it like that. We'll mark it like that, okay? You had red wick right there. Monthly candle, if you're starting to push up into it, all in one go, it took it out, it closed above it, okay? Now you have this new red upper wick right here. You have these 2 wicks. What happened when you finally start going? You closed decently above it right over there. Okay, what happened? You had this new wick right here, okay? This, I'm going to take off the line. You have this new big old wick right here. You pull back, you find buyers in the exact perfect spot, and now you have another massive monthly candlestick over here that's probably going to, you have 5 days, by the way, 5 days in this monthly candlestick. I think it's probably going to take out this high and do exactly what these other two did over here and give it a close above 59.14. We're talking maybe 70 bucks over here. Put Oklo on your radar. Pullbacks are buying opportunities. All right, but as far as the daily time frame goes, I'm just going to say heaviest daily volume we've ever had over here on the ticker. And yeah, we definitely have the catalyst here that can easily bring it up to all-time highs. So something I'm riding out here, and I will take advantage if it pulls back. Hood over here, guys, we're targeting highs. I do think this thing is about to start getting bought up, and it's probably going to be going 70, 75 over here on this breakout above 66.91. So that is hood. Next one is Carvana, guys. So this thing has a massive range going on here, 200 days. That's 2/3 of the year just about that you have been in this range over here, and you are just now breaking up from that. You're also now consolidating for, you know, 1.5 to 2 weeks over here above, you know, the range that you've been in for these 2/3 of a year in a bull flag. Okay, this thing is likely going to be breaking above 311.88, and I think we see 320, 330 come quick this week. Put it on your radar for a short-term trade idea. Next one is going to be ARM over here. I told you guys I had like 20 freaking setups for you guys to pay attention to. I'm telling you, some of these are going to be better than most. I'll point them out. I already did. You know, Peloton, Bros, Oklo. Those are the ones that I'm definitely going to be focused on. These are going to be the outsized movers, in my opinion. All right, but all of these are good to go, in my personal opinion. ARM had a nice pullback to 126.36. Notice how that's the blue level. That's your key level. We started breaking out above it. You're just retesting the breakout level. That is all you have going on right here. Okay. If this thing does reclaim 129.53, okay, you're back up in this range. And if you have a false breakdown, then let's see. If you follow the principle and you push the top of the range, and that's going to be all the way at 136.15. The second we get a daily close above this 200 DMA again, this pullback is deemed as, you know, it was a buying opportunity. We are now having the next leg up. All right, so get a daily close above 133.28 right there, which is going to be at your 200. I think you're probably going to push 136.15 that next trading session. And then, yeah, 142.32 incoming. HIMS, this is something to find buyers right off the 21 EMA as well as our key level. You know, found sellers, sellers, sellers. You popped above it. We're now retesting it right now. You found buyers off it over here, and you found buyers 2 days in a row. We have the 21 EMA sitting right there. If we are going to see this thing push up to all-time highs, it's probably going to happen from right here. Put it on your radar. Weekly chart looks great. You know, I also will say, though, all green, red candle, and you started the downfall. All green, red candle. Are you going to start the downfall? Probably not. I think you're probably going to be pushing all-time highs. Am I going to say this is one that I'm going to be focused on? No, but I will gladly put it on your radar. I do think if buyers are going to defend it, it's going to be right here before they push it back up to all-time highs. All right, TEM, this is one that, you know, just pulled right back to this key level here, 56.54. You found buyers off it this week, Thursday, Friday, and now you have a bullish engulfing candlestick over here on the daily time frame. I think this thing is probably going to start popping back up to these highs. All right, so it's something you could put on your radar, but this is, again, just something that pulled back in that bull flag, fallen wedge, that controlled pullback over there that is probably going to lead to that next leg up. All right, so that's TEM. Rocket Lab, this is something I think is probably going to be heating up. It's, you know, just taking its time over there. It has a very similar look to Tesla, in my opinion. But yeah, you can see I put it on your radar over here. I think it was on that candle right there. And then we started hitting with the break and retest. It's taken a while to really go anywhere. We haven't gotten this kind of move yet. I think it's probably around the corner. All right. But so far you're rejecting the golden pocket. But it looks like you're just consolidating, about to get that next leg up. Okay. And on that next leg up, I think you're probably going 30 plus. SMCI, I told you about the idea once we had this big green candle right there. And I am just going to say, now you're pulling back into weekly 21, you're pulling back in the 200 DMA, and on the daily time frame, we could see you printed a indecision candlestick right off of that 200. On the 4-hour time frame, we could see the 4-hour RSI is not yet oversold pretty much all the time, except, you know, when you were dying over here. Okay, that was, you know, a very bad narrative on SMCI. Keep that in mind. We haven't had that bad narrative in a while here, for a while now, since, you know, this whole year, actually, the past 5 to 6 months. Every time the 4-hour RSI has been oversold, like I'm talking, you see my alert right there? That's because before I prepared for this video, all right, that is, you know, I'm putting it on my radar, okay, because maybe I want to take a stab at it. Every single time the 4-hour RSI is oversold, you do end up getting that 5 to 10% bounce in the short term. Doesn't have to always happen right away. Like over here, it took 3 days, but look what happened. You did end up getting a 20%, 25% spike from where the 4-hour RSI was starting to get oversold over there. All right, and then, you know, you got a little bounce there, got a little bounce there, bigger bounce there. All right, you come down here. Oh, really big bounce. I'm just going to say, big impulsive move up, controlled move down. What's to say we're not about to get a big impulsive move back up? Not me. All right, not me. I pointed out, you know, this could, we could just continue off of that. We could do the same thing over here. Like, you know, here you had continuation after that first one. Boom, boom. This one, you had the consolidation week. Well, we just had the consolidation week. Let's see if we get that continuation third candlestick. SMCI. Rivian, this is one I already gave you guys. It's now just pulling back. But the original trade I did was to break about 1445. We're going to be targeting 1534, and then 1665, and then 1886. Well, guess what, guys? This thing, it's been performing over here and now has, a pretty ugly upper wick here. I'm just going to say I think it's more likely that this thing consolidates or just straight up pushes up into the upper wick over here, and then we get this move up to 1886. If this next weekly candle extends and closes up here, we're going to be looking for that on the next weekly candle. Okay, regardless, I'm keeping the setup on the radar. I think this is definitely a big weekly base, big weekly, monthly base that we've never seen over here on Rivian. We just have never seen a base of this size over here get a breakout. We just haven't seen it develop. Look at this. You just keep going down to new lows. Well, guess what? This thing is basing out. It's probably getting ready for, you know, a big move. That's Rivian. Uber over here, guys. Pull back the previous all-time high. You're finding buyers right here. And again, if this run is just going to continue right now, you're going to find buyers right here before they pop you back up to new highs. Okay, so the new highs you're going to be targeting right over here, 93.60. So if you're longing right here, you're going to put your stop right underneath the 21, because the second you start going over there, you're probably going to at least start consolidating, or you start just moving down from there. And you don't need to be a part of that, okay? If it's going to continue, you're going to keep holding the 21, okay? You got under here, guess what? You got back above it like a week and a half later. You could have just missed out on all this. It is what it is. All right, we know the thing is likely going a lot higher, but there are going to be ways to trade this thing. And I'm telling you right now, if buyers are going to step in, it's going to be right here. If they don't step in here, they start taking it under here, then we probably do revisit 81.86, maybe even 77.58 down there, key level. Okay, previous all-time high. But yeah, Uber, I'm liking it. Crowd, I'm going to say this thing is showing insane strength. If you are someone who trades momentum, then this thing is just, you know, pushing into new, fresh all-time highs. Well, guess what? When you push new all-time highs on that week, you closed right at previous all-time highs. The next week you extended. The next week after that you extended as well. So put it on your radar over the next 1 to 2 weeks. You have earnings, not this week, but the week after that. So, you know, if you're playing this, it's going to be weeklies. Keep that in mind. So that's why I said the momentum traders, this one's for you. I think it's about to have a little bit more of a pop there. MCD, this is one that I am keeping on the radar. I'm not going to trade it. Okay. I'm going to wait to see if you actually start getting what I want. All right, but this thing is very clearly just getting really tight here at this point, and it is getting ready for a move. There's kind of no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and I do think it's set up for that bullish move, considering the monthly and the weekly time frame. This thing is likely going to extend above all-time highs here, and it's probably going to have a quick 15 to 20-point move that we could take advantage of, but I want to see it really get above 321.78. If it can't get above there and it stalls out, just like over here, we don't want it, okay? But the fact that, you know, it already double topped there, if you test again, it's probably going to break. If it doesn't test on that one, then we're definitely expecting to break on the next one and go straight for all-time highs, 326.32. All right, so those are the trade ideas I have for you guys this week. We're just going to quickly go over Bitcoin over here, guys. I'm not going to say it looks terrible, but I wouldn't be chasing it over here, because guess what? You popped up in new all-time highs, you pulled right back. It's possible that we will just, you know, pull back here for a little before continuing. But I'm also going to say this thing, you know, is very clearly in this uptrend here. We're looking for buyers over here for that pop. We got the pop. We're now at new all-time highs. Coin and MSTR really aren't moving all that much. All right, but I'll just point out MSTR, we did have some big bets coming in for next week. Someone was loading the absolute boat. I don't know if he's going to get paid on it or not, but I'll tell you right now for a fact, this 4-hour RSI is oversold, and we are in an aggressive uptrend. These 4-hour RSIs being oversold, okay, if you're in an uptrend, they're usually going to mark your lows. They're usually where you want to be buying in along that uptrend. I do know you just took out the daily 21, and I was saying that the second you take that out, it's probably over. And it could be. I'm not telling you to long this thing. I'm just telling you for a fact there was someone loading, like, we're talking $30 million of premium Thursday into Friday over, well, not Thursday into Friday, just Friday. There was like $30 to $40 million of premium. I was seeing some guy load for next Friday's calls. We're talking 402.5C, 405C, 410C, 395C, 397.5. This guy was relentless, and every time he kept, you know, I kept seeing his premiums go down, he would just start loading up a different strike. All right, so golden sweeps up the ass came in, you know, on Friday. So I'm saying there's a chance that this thing is going to pop right back up. Someone was trying to buy anywhere from, you know, 370 over here to 385. That's where he was really loading them. And yeah, he's targeting 400 to 410. So I'm just going to say, all right, Bitcoin's in that uptrend, 4-hour RSI. Okay, over here, you got your quick move. Okay, even if you continue lower for that, that's a 15% move. That's a $40 move over there. Okay, over here, when you actually hit oversold territory, yeah, you went a little lower that next candle, but then you had a big 30% move. I'm just saying, if we're going to continue having these big moves, we're in the uptrend. For all we know, this thing's going to do this. I'm just saying. Okay? Just saying. Coinbase, I really wouldn't be playing it. I'm going to be completely honest, guys. All right? It had the S&P 500 inclusion. It's just been acting like crap ever since that big day. I would be trading MSTR. That's just my opinion. But I also think there is a chance this thing just has this boom, that other week over there. See how you had the big week, you consolidated, and then you continued. I think there is a chance we have that, considering this is the heaviest weekly volume we've had, at least green weekly volume we've had in a while here. Yeah, it looks like the highest over there you had, right there and right there. All right, but those were sells. As we see, it's starting to shift. Let's just look at the monthly time frame. This is something that has a big range going on. At some point, it's probably going to break up from the range. And yeah, I mean, it's very clearly going to eventually target 429.54 if it breaks up from the range. Okay, so I wouldn't be bearish on coin over here, but I personally wouldn't be trading it, considering I just gave you so many looks that look amazing. Okay, they look great. Okay, I'll just highlight the best ones that I'm thinking right now. Bros, PLTR 3.0, Peloton. All right, Peloton is one that is, again, it's actually what I was showing you over there on Rivian. This thing has been basing out for a long time. This monthly chart looks insane. This weekly chart looks absolutely insane. Next 1 to 2 weeks are probably going to go something like that. All right, daily chart also looks insane. So that is Peloton. Oklo, this is the other one that, pullbacks, you see him? Buying opportunities, clear as day. Look at that, dude. Look at that. Heavy weekly volume. This weekly volume is just ticking up. It's not like it just exploded over here. It is steadily ticking up. This is momentum building on this ticker right here. Daily chart's looking absolutely insane. What the heck is that volume over there? You opened up 10% and then you were up, 30-something% at the highs over here. This thing is probably going to be a momentum mover over here. It's probably going to take out those all-time highs. This week, if I had to take a guess with, how this thing just moved and, from where current price is, it's only a 20% gain, guys. You can hit that in 1 to 2 days. All right. If you pull back, look for buyers over here. You don't really want to test 43.70. That would be really ugly. So I think it's very likely you just are going to continue. All right. Aside from that, guys, we're talking TEM. All right. It hasn't always been my favorite ticker, but I'll tell you right now, considering, I remember I thought this thing was going to hold the break and retest, and then the market just as a whole just fell off a cliff. So, Trappy over here, you've been in this range, but I'm just saying this thing is stair stepping over here. It's just doing another one of these stair steps. It's pretty obvious that this thing is likely going to be pushing up. Now, as far as the Mag 7 stocks go, we're talking Amazon and we're talking Tesla. Tesla, clear as day. Okay. July 440C, someone is low in the absolute belt. Someone knows something's coming. I'm telling you, the technical charts, or just the charts, technical analysis on this ticker over here, it's suggesting we're going to be seeing more upside. Look for the further upside. Buy the pullbacks if it happens. No financial advice will be given on this channel, but I will gladly do my best to help you guys make your money, okay? I do my best 5 days a week here to make it so everybody has all the information for absolutely no cost to you. All the information you need to consistently pull profits out of this market, okay? If that is something that you find useful, which I'm just going to say, if you are a real trader, I know it's the most useful fucking channel on YouTube, pardon my French, but the YouTube algorithm sleeps on this channel. There is not a single other channel that will do it like we do it here on this channel. There's not out there, okay? There are scammers. There are people who don't know what they're talking about. They want to talk about things. I have a proven track record of 3 to 4 years of doing these updates at this point in time. Anybody who's been following along for the ride, okay? And I'm just going to tell you, I will put your focus where it needs to be every single week. It doesn't mean you're going to be making money every week, but I'm telling you, if there's something moving in these markets, I'm going to put it on your radar, and it's up to you to take advantage. I will give you the game plans as we go to take advantage, as well as just, I will help you track the actual indices as everything's moving. All right. If you guys did find value, which again, I just made it very clear, I know for a fact there's a shit ton of value in here. Please remember to hit that like button so we can pump this stock, so we can pump it for the YouTube algorithm. If you are new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. Maybe you forget at the end of the video here, but I'm reminding you, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We put out the videos for the most part. They're going to be, 4 to 6 o'clock, so we have time for the market to close and stuff like that, and for the market to digest that. Yeah, they are, varying in times, around there. So just hit the bell notification so you get a notification every single time we put it on an upload, and then you can be prepared every single day. With that being said, ladies and gents, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I forgot to mention, I am going to be running, well, I'm not going to be running, I am running a 30% off coupon code. It's code Memorial Day. Just hit the link down below if you want to come trade with me. I will be live trading every single, well, not will be, I live trade every single day. I'll be streaming with you guys 9:30 up until, usually at least 11 to 12 o'clock. All right. Sometimes, we'll see what the market is giving us. Okay. But I'll be streaming with you every morning. You're going to have the focus list each week. You're going to have a game plan for your option trades, your future trades, and everything going into each day. All right. And it's a recipe for having a good time. All right. If that sounds good to you, link is going to be down below. You could just remember, use the 30% off code if you're going to be joining us. That's code Memorial Day. With that being said, appreciate y'all, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.